It's March the 6th, 2025. I'm at Joel Pearl or at thejoelpearl.com on Blue Sky. Still a mouthful, still worth saying. Welcome to In the Weeds, our Thursday show. I don't do these, and Jeremy's sick, and SP3's here, so he and I get to chop it up for the next little while. Hello, wrestling writer. How are you?
I am doing well. I am also, my new nickname is Opposite of a White Woman, SP3. Thanks to Alex Pulowski for giving me my latest nickname to go along with the new media Forbidden Door, Jerome YouTube, and everything of the above. It is Thursday. Yes, I am usually here, so I could give y'all the other version of the intro that I usually give. I usually let Jeremy do the opening like I just did Joel, and then I run down everything. We got AEW Dynamite to discuss from last night, the go-home show ahead of AEW Revolution. There was attempted murder that went down on AEW, so you know Jeremy Lambert is very upset that he's not joining us today to praise MJF for almost setting Hangman Adam Page on fire. We had one of the best 2-minute go-home segments of all time between Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May. In 2 minutes, they accomplished what Cope and Mox did not accomplish in the 20 minutes of TV time that they got last night. But Cope did show his respect to Wheeler Yuta. Meanwhile, Mox did not like that show of respect, and he's very upset, meaning that he's going to be all alone without the Death Riders. Oh, so we thought, because Jay White says he'll be ringside on Sunday in the main event of Revolution. And Jay White, I don't know if you can trust him, Cope. And we also got to discuss everything else with Swerve and Ricochet's contract signing, including shouting out Samantha Irvin, and Ricochet once again scoring a victory over Swerve Strickland. So a lot to discuss from there. This morning, I woke up with my daughter, who was very upset that I was putting on New Japan Pro Wrestling, and she was like, "What are these letters? I don't like these letters." And I was like, "That's Japanese, honey. That's Japanese." She's like, "I'm scared." I was like, "Why are you scared of Japanese letters?" And we watched New Japan Pro Wrestling. Me and my son mostly. My daughter just played on her phone. We watched New Japan Pro Wrestling, which had a great final 2 matches. El Desperado and Francisco Akira tearing it up for the IWGP Junior title, while Hiroshi Tanahashi and Hiroki Goto turned back the clock. Hiroshi Tanahashi with no knees, still able to get the most emotion out of that Japanese crowd, so we'll touch on that. Also, there was the premiere of Evolve last night, and yes, I'm naming all the shows that Joel did not watch. He told me before we went live he did not watch any New Japan, he did not watch any Evolve, so that will be a conversation between me and y'all out there who did watch. But there's a lot to discuss from the wrestling world as usual, and I'm glad Joel is here to discuss it with me.
Well, I mean, I'm here to sit here and watch you talk about it in circles, because let's face it, I'm not watching the New Japan nostalgia run right now. Old Japan Pro Wrestling, if you will.
I'm sick of you. I'm sick of you ageist out there, like Joe World.
Your kid is afraid of kanji. Like, what are we doing here?
I'm sick of you. I'm sick of all of you ageist out there in every other company. You got 50-year-olds going for titles. You got 50-year-old challenging for the AEW World Championship on Sunday. We got a near 50-year-old who's balding, challenging for the undisputed WWE Championship at WrestleMania 41. But in New Japan Pro Wrestling, we have 50-year-olds challenging for the world title, and the fans love it. So we don't care what any of you said. It's a great time for the Lion Mark. And we also got a preview Joel's favorite promotion in the world, TNA Wrestling, because TNA Impact is tonight, baby.
And they did exactly the thing. Why they dropped this on a Wednesday during Dynamite, I don't know, but they did exactly the thing that Cresta and I said they were going to do with who's the fifth man on the babyface side for the Sacrifice is becoming a meaningless event. There's going to be 3 good matches, and I'm not going to do a pro show because the main event. Fuck. What are we doing? I was just like, oh, who's going to be it's Nic Nemeth. It's going to be Nic Nemeth. He's going to come back. You've got Ryan Nemeth going, my big brother comes back in 15 days. Like, yeah, he's going to be the 5th man. Like, what do you want from this? And he's going to either turn heel. And again, if they do JBL versus Nic Nemeth at Slammiversary, I am going to cackle, and I'm probably going to watch the match and love every minute of it. That's what I'm here for.
What has happened to the show?
He's here.
Aren't you sick? Go away. You're sick.
You know,
Go
I
away.
came on the show yesterday from the hospital, by the way. I was in the hospital when I jumped on the show yesterday. I'm back at home. I'm allegedly supposed to be resting.
Yes.
We see how that's working out. I come on here. Joel's uploading the wrong thumbnail for the morning.
It never worked. I fixed it like immediately, and it's still never fixed. If you go and edit that thing now, you'll see the right one, and it's still not showing up on the feed. I don't know what's going on. That's not a me problem.
Joel doesn't take responsibility for when he's wrong. That hasn't changed at least.
Damn right.
You're talking about TNA and their stupid announcing the mystery people a week and a half before the match. Have you talked about Evolved? Have you talked about Evolved?
I about that. You didn't hear my intro? I ran down everything. I said we're going to talk about Evolved today. We're going to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're going to talk about some AEW. We're checking all the boxes.
That was SP3 was all I want to talk about Evolve. And I was like, I'm not watching Evolve. And he's like, oh, I did. And I'm going to talk about it. I'm like, well, you're going to talk in circles. Have fun.
Yes, because Kendall Gray has a better spear than WrestleMania main eventer Jey Uso. Kendall Gray is a future star. And I actually been catching up on LFG too. I watched the first episode in full. I watched half of the second episode. I'm checking all the boxes this week.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hate
this
to tell you.
This is why y'all got me for Tuesdays and Thursdays, because I consume an unreasonable amount of pro wrestling.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, SP3, but LFG's been canceled by the fans. LFG season 2.
Yeah, because Mickey James.
James gone.
They cut her out.
Yeah, I heard about that. I heard about. I was like, that was the only reason I watched season 1, because one of the coaches on season 1 already has me blocked, and I see that he's going to be returning for season 2. So I was
Bully
like,
Ray's blocked you. Did the Undertaker block you?
No, I don't think the Undertaker uses social media.
Hey, he does. He does now. He's a big social media guy. Sadly,
gotta get Miss God is Dope on the show. Anyway, so we don't talk about that show anymore.
Fair. All right, look, I'm just here to mandatory appearance. I don't miss shows. I don't run from the grind. If I got to come through at the local medical facility and show my face, that's what I'll do. Very, very funny yesterday, Joel, where you thought like I could pop myself on the show when I was like backstage.
I didn't realize you were on your phone.
Yeah, I was on my phone. You saw me with a mask on my face. What do you think? I took my computer with me?
No, some people, if they're ill and they have 50,000 people living in their homestead, they'll put on a mask. I thought maybe you were just at home in a mask in bed.
Nah, I'm not wearing a mask in my own house, and if I don't have to, Sadly, the lovely wife we've rotated sleeping on the couch these past few nights because neither of us have slept like more than an hour for the past 3 days. So it's been a rough go around here, but maybe I'll be back tomorrow for the full episode. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know at this point. There's too much wrestling. That's my biggest complaint. There's too much wrestling. These guys have you talked about your argument you were having in our group chat last night?
No, because we just started. We're 9 minutes into this thing, and like the first 2-3 minutes are setups. What are you talking about? And then you came in, and it's been 5 minutes. So really, there's only been about 90 seconds of non-you or setup time.
I forgot how this show worked, Joel. I'm on a bunch of drugs right now, okay?
Clearly, you've forgotten.
I'm on so much cough syrup and lean. I'm on the Lil Wayne diet out here. You know what I mean?
You're like Tariq St. Patrick out here, taking a lot of lean. All right.
So I can't tell. I'm on steroids too. Can you imagine that? I'm on steroids,
perfect for
cough syrup, and lean. This is what I'm on. I don't know what I'm saying right now. I'm gonna get myself canceled on this show. Anyway, these guys were arguing on a group chat last night. I assume they'll have this argument on air, but I'm gonna blow it up here for a second.
There's not much arguing to be done because clearly the thumbnail ended up being the pitch, and I was like, all right, there's not an argument to be had.
Joel wanted the thumbnail to be this dumb handshake between Cope and Yuta.
Thank you. I was like, that's like the fifth most important thing that happened on the show. And I understood his logic behind it, but I was like, even with your logic, it should be Jay White. Like, it should be Jay White instead of that handshake.
It was to set up the entirety of the conversation. It was which is, where does Yuta stand? How did Cope use his own mental manipulation? What's going on with Jay White? I understand. Then he put Jay White also in the frame. It was again to set it up because he saw the thumbnail and yeah. So Henry saying my thumbnail would have been better. I ended up doing the Toni Storm and the Toni Storm and Mariah May one because it was something that SP3 had pitched, and I sat back, thought about it for a second. I was like, okay, it's gonna get traction for reasons X, Y, and Z, and like we can talk about not just the segment itself, because while it was very good, it didn't really change the feelings that people had going into this match. It's going to be a good match. It's going to be a very passionate match, but is it going, now the question is, should it main event, even though the general prevailing sentiment is the main event is the world title match, which in traditional pro wrestling, that's what it is. And we haven't strayed from that very often in AEW. So that was kind of the argument that we're setting up here on today's show with this thumbnail.
I liked it better when your caption was Hollywood ending, and then this was the thumbnail.
I saw that and I immediately said, that's not right. And then I changed it, and it never changed after that. I don't know what's wrong with this stupid website we have.
That would have been just so much better. You just kept it. It should have just been the Travis Scott and Cody thumbnail for the entire week. It doesn't matter what the headline is. AEW Revolution preview, and it's Cody and Travis Scott.
That's a Hollywood ending too. That is a Hollywood ending.
Well, if you talk to Conrad Thompson, who talked to Cody Rhodes, that shit didn't happen. So who knows how Cody Rhodes got hurt, and if he actually busted up his eardrum.
Nah, Cody Rhodes is a worker. He's not gonna out Travis Scott and be like, yeah, he shot on me and busted my eardrum. I got people saying like, oh, I would have gone back there and had words with Travis. No, you wouldn't have. Travis Scott is way up here. You're not gonna go back. What are you gonna do? Go back there and shoot fight Travis Scott? What are we talking about?
The conversation was probably like, "Oh, you got me good, brother. That hurt." And he's like, Travis probably was like, "Sorry, man. That, my bad." And then Cody would have started like, "All right, well, if you get in the ring, you got one coming to you. Okay, no problem, brother." That's it. That's the conversation.
I just look, the short I made on that did pretty well yesterday. Yeah, I did a short yesterday while on my deathbed. Everybody, yeah, I hope
Hope Lambert over here.
I hope they just went over there and went to the back, and they're just like, all right, Travis, hands down. You got one coming. Travis was like, all right, I understand. No problem. Yeah, he's a high out of his mind anyway. We saw how much he was smoking. Like, he didn't know what was going on. It's like, yeah, sure. Got this one coming.
Easy as that. That's all.
Hangman Page almost got lit on fire last night.
He didn't. Stop it.
Attempted murder. He got attempted murder. I was like, Jeremy would have loved to be on this show.
Yeah.
You got to talk about attempted murder.
That was such a piss poor attempt. You took lighter fluid that you would use in a barbecue and used like 10% of the bottle. This bottle that was maybe about like half the size of this thing, and just used it and said, "Oh, we're gonna light them on fire." It's like you would probably start like a little. You burn the clothes a bit, but it wouldn't catch. What are we doing here?
We don't know, because AEW apparently doesn't let people get lit on fire in the ring. You can only do it. You can only light houses on fire. Cowardly promotion.
That's right. And if there is no one in the house, then that's okay. You know what he should have done? He should have lit the electric vehicle on fire, because that shit would have caught in flames. That thing would have blown up in front of the building. It would have been a scene. Instead, they're like, "Oh, let's burn the opponent." No, they're carrying off MJF. He's like, "Let me prove my point." Like, your point is that you suck at this. You can't light a man on fire because you can't do it properly. What are we doing?
How are the
did it properly?
How are the frame rates for the opening segment, Joel, where MJF is like way up here? I'm coming after you, Hangman Page. How are the frames for that?
Listen, production wise, it was fine. Content wise, I was like, shut the fuck up. We're 15 minutes in. I could say it. Like,
I enjoyed MJF on last night's show. He's just over the top with everything. Him, let me prove my point, was the perfect kind of entitled prick. He's an entitled prick that he's whining that he didn't get to murder somebody. Let me prove my point. Let me prove
problem is, his point is that, like, if you're a babyface leaning heel or whatever, you can get away with this shit, but he can't because he's always been a bad guy, except for the Adam Cole stuff, which we don't talk about that. It was the gas leak year. That would have worked better if he had just leaked some gasoline onto Hangman Page. Stupid. They screwed it up. They should have had a whole bucket of gasoline, and then Eddie Kingston could have tweeted out something out of pocket, and it would have been better.
They should just let him light him on fire. If we don't get fire in this match on Sunday, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Come on, we're looking at a screwdriver in a steel cage, pair of scissors in a number one contendership match, and now you want to add fire to this match.
Yes, I do.
Calling this Extreme Revolution.
You know, I advocate
Extreme.
You know, I advocate for murder all the time. So yeah, I do want to add all of this stuff. Like that Toni Storm, cowardly. She's like, I'm not gonna kill you. I was like, no. What do you mean you're not gonna kill her? You should kill her. I'm just gonna beat you and make you irrelevant.
That's the easy path. She's gonna live a lifetime of obscurity or mediocrity. So that promo was, oh my god, I can't wait to talk about it.
That's lame though. I wanted her to be like, I'm gonna shove you back into my womb, and that's how I'm gonna murder you. I'm gonna suffocate you with my womb. That would be a good promo. Not I'm gonna let you live. Boring.
Because that's too easy. That's too easy. See, you think way too small. A lifetime of mediocrity is worse than death.
But Mariah May might win another title. Death.
Nope.
You don't have that opportunity.
A lifetime of mediocrity means that she will be liked but not loved.
But here's the problem.
The problem. Okay, go ahead.
Here's the problem if you say like, oh, I'm going to sentence you to a lifetime of mediocrity. But like, you can't control that. Mariah May could still go on to do like a bunch of big things and like not have a lifetime of mediocrity. What if Mariah May goes to WWE in main events, WrestleMania? It could happen.
What are you talking about? Like I'm a believer. I'm very religious. And Toni Storm said last night she is God, so she can control that. She can control that.
I don't know, man. You seen how you seen the stuff that happens in the world where there's a God? Like I don't know how much of that stuff's.
I mean, God is pretty cruel himself. So I think that Toni Storm will make sure that Mariah never gets any success.
I don't know. It just feels easier to kill her, you know?
No, you're thinking way too minuscule.
I don't feel like that's minuscule. Like we're talking murder.
Minuscule.
Murder and minuscule don't go together.
As the only Jew in the room, I can convince you that yes, minuscule murder does exist. It's just mice, little tiny mice.
Little tiny murder,
little tiny murder mice. $8 million on Trent. No, we're not getting there. Sorry, we're not doing that right now.
We're going to that route.
No, I don't have 99 minutes to spare with no intermission. I'm sorry.
We should launch an In the Weeds crypto coin.
Just pump and dump this shit. Let's go.
I don't know where that came from, but
well, I don't know where it came from either. Maybe you should just put a little Hawk 2 on it.
That's my pitch right now. What if we launch an In the Weeds crypto coin? Would people buy? Everybody in the chat, let me know if you would buy this crypto coin. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you right now. You're not getting any of this money back. So I'm at least going to, tell you the truth. Yeah. Read the fine print and letting you know you're not getting any of this money back that you pay for it. So
weed coin.
That actually might sell pretty well.
It's true. People not in on the bit would get all of it.
Yeah, they'd buy a bunch of it. They're like, wait a second, I didn't get anything. I didn't even get a high off of this.
Well, this shit's doing well in Colorado. What's that about?
All right, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go sleep. I'm gonna take some more drugs. I'm gonna go take some more syrup and lean and steroids. I don't have any more mana, anybody. So I will not be drinking mana on tomorrow's show. Yeah, I don't have any alcohol at all. We have a fine wined Love is Wine bottle. You know what I'm talking about, SP3? You seen those Love is Wine bottles?
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
we have one of those. We got one of those at like season 6. So this is 2 season aged Love is
Ooh.
Wine.
That's
Yeah.
good.
I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to get better with age. I don't think that particular wine will get better with age.
Well, season 8, it feels like it's aged about 5 seasons, as boring as this shit has been. So
It's dread. This is like 12 episodes that feel like 12,000 hours that I've watched it. Oh my god, so bad,
yeah.
so bad. Can't wait
I'm
for
sorry.
Reality Rumble to rip it apart.
I'm gonna have to start drinking some Love is Wine on this show to keep up the Friday bit. No, I can't mix alcohol with all of the drugs that I'm on right now. It probably would not end well.
No, it's a bad idea. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
So are you doing Spotlight today?
I don't know. I didn't do the interview last night because I was too out of it yesterday. I don't know if I'm gonna do Spotlight tonight. I'd like to actually go to bed at a decent hour. The problem is I haven't been sleeping worth shit because I'm just coughing all night. So it's been pretty terrible. Actually, not coughed on this show really at all. So that's a positive sign. Hopefully that continues up. I've been watching a lot of 97 WCW. You got 97 WCW questions? I can answer those.
Let's talk about it. What's the best moment from 1997 WCW?
Dude, Rey Mysterio and Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero, they just threw those dudes out there every single week. And they're like, just go have a match. Just a combination of you three.
Here's 10 minutes. Go steal the show. It's pretty good. My moment, I always say, my favorite moment from 1997 WCW is the first time Sting fought the NWO at Uncensored 1997, because Dennis Rodman looks so confused. He's like, what's going on? He's like, I'm so high. Why is this man coming out the sky?
Travis Scott of his time, Dennis Rodman.
Of his era.
Right there.
Of his era.
Now I started watching. I wanted to watch the Luger title victory from August '97, just because it pops me that they put the title on Lex Luger for 6 days. Ruled. So I watched that, and then I just started watching from that until all the way through. I'm at World War III right now. Granted, I put it on at night and I try to fall asleep to it, so I've missed a good chunk of everything. But I'm at World War III. 1997. But yeah, it absolutely does rule that every time I'm half awake, it's oh, here's another Rey Mysterio Dean Malenko match. These guys they're really progressing right now, just doing the same match. NWO interferes in every single match. It's so funny. It's hilarious. Oh, here we go, Kurt Hennig and Lex Luger in the main event. I was like, oh boy, I wonder how this shit's gonna end.
This is always doing these big time main event matches, and it always ends in a cluster.
This was at a point when you needed to get to the pay-per-view to make the money because the TV rights were nowhere near what they are now.
But then the pay-per-views are fucking stupid. So I'm watching Halloween Havoc last night, and Flair and Hennig in this big old grudge match because Hennig slammed the door on his head and everything.
Great sell by Flair, who sells it.
Yeah. That shit ends in a DQ. And I'm like, wait, you doing this big giant grudge match and you're just gonna end this match in a DQ? You didn't think to end you didn't think to add a stipulation to that? And then the next match is Lex Luger and Scott Hall. It's how's this gonna end? Oh, here's a no contest. Cool. You just did a DQ finish followed by a no contest finish. And then they do DDP and Savage, which is a sudden death match or whatever. And that ends with a bunch of interference and some bullshit. And then it's the Piper and Hogan cage match where Piper wins and he's the champion for 2 seconds because then they said oh, the title wasn't on the line, even though handed Piper the belt and everything.
No, that was Starrcade. Wasn't that Starrcade 96?
No, this was also the 97
Halloween Havoc
match.
I remember the steel cage match, Halloween Havoc for Savage doing the jump off and missing Piper. I would have sworn Hogan won that though.
No. Piper won that match. He got him in the sleeper and they did the 3-arm down and then they handed the belt to Piper and then Savage and Bischoff attacked him, and then all the Stings are there, and the legit fan jumps in the cage and gets his ass beat and everything. And then the next night on Nitro, here comes Hogan just out with the WCW title. He's playing the air guitar on it, acting like nothing happened, acting like he didn't lose, and like the title wasn't on the line or anything. They just were like, no. So Piper like won the title twice for like 1 second because they just decided retroactively, nah, you know what? The title wasn't actually on the line in this match. What a company. What a promotion. WCW ruled. Don't let anybody tell you different.
That's right. Should have lasted much longer. Should have been around today. 202025.
You know what probably the most about this Halloween Havoc event? I promise I'll leave after this. Is so like the opening match is Ultimo Dragon against upcoming challenger for the IWGP World Heavyweight title, Yuji Nagata. That's the opening match on this show. I was like, holy shit, Nagata is in good shape.
Blue Justice.
He's got like he's not like old or anything in 1997. And then the match after that is Chris Jericho against Gato. And I'm like, oh, fuck, it's Gato. And Bobby Heenan is like, so how do you pronounce his name? And Tanae's like, oh, it's Ghetto. He's like, so Ghetto, like Ghetto? And Tanae's like, yeah. Heenan's like, oh, okay, sure. If you say so.
He's like, I'll go with it. I'll just go with it.
It's like when he says something offhand, it's like, no, mom said I could say it. That's all that was for Heenan.
Jacqueline beats the shit out of Disco Inferno on this show. Rules. Yeah, it's so good. So good.
The thing is, like, Disco Inferno, this is what sucks. Like, Disco was entertaining in that day. Now he just fucking sucks.
Right. Man. I'm gonna get out of here. I said 5 minutes and I stayed way too long. I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe I'll be on the show in some capacity tomorrow. Maybe it might be another run-in appearance, but I don't run from the grind. Joel, thank you for not running from the grind this week and doing more than 2 shows. I'm sure like a week from now, you'd be like, hey, remember that week that I did like 4 shows? Well, now I'm only going to do 1. So it all evens out.
Well, we'll talk about how April will look, but let's talk about later.
Yeah, just tell me in advance so I can my other schedules accordingly.
We'll deal with that when we get there.
I'm going to do a solo show for 24 hours in April.
God, good luck to you. Good luck.
Remember, everybody, what I say does not count. I am on steroids, lean, and drugs. Anything that I've said on today's show cannot be used against me in a court of law. Thank you, as always, SP3. I appreciate you. Thank you, Joel. Bye, everybody. I almost clicked end stream. That would have been really bad. All right, bye.
Good God.
He's on drugs.
He is on drugs. This is because I always have to pepper in a Wade Keller story. So Wade and his team at PW Torch have started doing live streams on YouTube for their post shows. They finally, like about a year ago, maybe they got rid of Blog Talk Radio, which was how they were doing their post shows. Now they're doing YouTube. Now they're doing StreamYard. And one of the co-hosts was on with Wade and hit end stream when they were leaving. Because I think he was like an on-site correspondent or something. So he was at the show and he did his thing. And then instead of just leaving, he pressed end stream and then he crashed the entire show. So they had to do a second part of the post show because this guy who also does things on the site and pressed end stream and screwed it all up. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you have to get used to StreamYard. I remember my first time controlling a StreamYard was when I was doing Wrestling Daily. I think I was doing the show with, I forget who I was doing it with. I think it was Sat. I think it was one of my first times doing it with Sat. And instead of ending the stream, I left the studio. And then like 30 minutes later, I get told, the show is still going on, right? It's just nobody. No, nothing. Dead air. I came back. I was like, "Oh, sorry guys, bye now."
You're not gonna trim that either. You're just gonna let it go. Oh, how was Wrestling Daily 4.5 hours today? Oh, lots to talk about. It's mid-June.
Something you gotta get used to the StreamYard world. It's difficult. It's difficult to get a grip on. But glad Jeremy popped in on us. He was popping me. Good
Absolutely.
to
If you love
always fun to talk about WCW in 1997.
Oh yeah. By the way, I want 1997 thumbs up on this video. So go ahead and do that right now. If you haven't, we don't have Pyro and Ballyhoo because nobody's using a MacBook in this room. So it's just the way it is. Just leave a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked. We drop this content every day, baby, sometimes more than once a day. And of course, you can donate a super chat, any amount, get your question or your statement read on the air. You can steer the conversation. You can get in on the conversation. Volob's already done it by saying, Ryan, my big brother, Nemeth. It's the most obnoxious, amazing thing Ryan Nemeth has ever done. And he's dropped lawsuits. Anyway, Volop also
that was one of Bajal's best deliveries of a line ever. He just dropped it, let it stay for a bit, and it hit.
Anyway, Volov also adding in, yeah, but the Hollywood ending is a world title match. Why can't it main event? That's a good point. It is the women's world title. You could make the argument that this is a world title, whether or not AEW and Tony Khan see it as on par with the men's AEW World Championship. That's entirely their call. It main evented the Grand Slam show. That wasn't a pay-per-view. That was a collision for all intents and purposes. If Grand Slam Australia had been a bigger show, I think that this argument would be a lot stronger. If they had run the stadium and they had 35, 40,000, a lot of people in that stadium, and they main evented that show with Mariah May, Toni Storm, I think we'd be having a different conversation regarding that.
I agree with you. I don't think we would be getting the whole that should main event over Mox and Cope. If that was an actual pay-per-view, then it would have been different. But it was just a TV show, and the women have main evented on TV, even a TV special. I remember the first Grand Slam in New York City. That was headlined by Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. But I think that the reason why the argument is so strong for the Hollywood ending is that it's a culmination of an 18-month storyline. And I said it to Alex last night on the Dynamite post show. It's I don't know if Tony Khan is going to get a better feud to headline and to be the first ever women's pay-per-view main event in company history than this. You may get bigger names. You can get a Mercedes Moné versus a Toni Storm. You can do Athena versus Mercedes Moné to some people. But as far as the character investment, the storyline investment, the story that's been told, Toni Storm versus Mariah May is not only one of the greatest stories ever told in AEW history, it's one of the greatest stories ever told in women's wrestling history. I don't think that in my lifetime, I at least have never seen women have a storyline with two people, a beginning, middle, and end that lasted 2 years. There's been series of matches, Bailey and Sasha, and the Sasha and Charlotte and Becky, and Charlotte and Rhea. They've had their series of matches across multiple years. But as far as two women who are interlocked, and yes, there was a time period where Toni went away, but still, that's a part of the story. That's all a part of the story. It's the loss at All In that dictated Toni going away and trying to find herself and going to Stardom and going to Mexico and failing over there and then being lost in the distance and then coming back as the Rocker and pretending to be a rookie again and learning a move that would help her become the AEW Women's World Champion again, and then pay it off in that matchup with her winning with the small package, and then to follow it up with Mariah now having a character change and actually becoming this unhinged actual woman from hell, because she said that she's the woman from hell, but she was really playing the glamour character throughout her AEW Women's World title run. Now she's actually becoming the woman from hell because she's become unhinged and crazed because Toni has taken back the title, the one thing that made her whole. It's now just totally broke down her psyche, and to the point that we just started off that promo with her spit in the face. Immediately I was gonna watch AEW how I usually watch AEW, where sometimes with the promos, I'm doing other things. I'm writing notes about other parts of the show. I'm setting up for tomorrow with True Hill Heat and stuff like that. I'm writing an article with Sports Illustrated or something like that. Immediately when she spits in her face, I put everything down. I was like, wait, what? How do we start a sit-down promo with that? With her spitting in her face, and the fact that Tony deadpanned her, and he was like, glad to know you care. You still care so much. Oh my God. I was like, I'm here. You got me. Cinema.
Everything you said is absolutely on the ball. And there are reasons to run with this as a potential main event for Revolution. The biggest pushback that I can give you from this is 9:23 to 9:37. That's when the women are featured on AEW these days, on Dynamite specifically. There was a time when that wasn't the case, but it's suddenly become the case. And unfortunately, while this story between Mariah and Toni has been the strongest story for the last 18 months, for everything you mentioned, and for that promo last night that was very well shot and very well executed and very well acted for that matter.
Yeah. Even Renee dropping the objective reporter or objective interviewer act and being like, Mariah's like, it's all her fault. She made all this happen. And Renee's like, no, you came into her life. Like, I was like, yes, Renee. Yes, Renee. And then the final line with Renee being, I just pray that you guys don't hurt each other. And they both say it at the same time, staring a hole in each other's eyes. Pray for her. I was like, let's go.
And again, this entire story is based off of another film. And as a result, it does make this story a little easier to tell because you at least have the beginning, middle, and an end to pull from. That being said, it also allows for these characters to be as dramatic as they've been and therefore create a little more interest in what they're doing. But at the end of the day, this is not the way that the women are dominantly featured on AEW. They are not featured this way. For that reason, because we consistently ask what's next, and that's our job is, who do you set up next as a challenger? What comes after this? Who comes after this? What do you do if Mariah May wins? What do you do if Toni Storm wins? Toni wins, you assume everyone moves on, and Mariah has to figure out what the hell she's doing as her own character. Toni Storm loses, then do we go back to another match between these two? And Mariah May says, no, and Toni has to win her way back into it somehow. But even though we've already done that, we come back around to it. Is that what we do? Regardless of the outcome, the reason why the men's world title match looks to be the final match of the night is because an angle will most likely play out that will leave you saying, okay, on to Dynamite. That was a great show. These matches were fantastic. This happened at the end of the night. Now I'm excited. I'm pumped to talk about it on the post shows, and then I'm excited for Dynamite on Wednesday. And that's it. That's mainly the reasons why this particular women's match, as strong as it's been, as good as the storytelling has been, as good as the matches have been, probably not going to be the last match on the card.
Yeah, two of the things that I did yesterday, I did for Sports Illustrated wrestling YouTube channel. I did a preview for Revolution with Rick Ucchino and Zach Haydorn. And when we came to Mox versus Cope, we all three had different results. And then talking to Alex about Dynamite last night and him talking about all the possibilities for Mox and Cope, I will say yes. Because there's more possibilities for what's going to happen in Mox and Cope, I understand that argument. That there is, like, as far as I know, there, if you believe that Toni Storm and Mariah May should main event, you're not going to kind of go away from that thought. It doesn't matter what Cope and Mox do. You're not going to, or what we say, you're not going to be away from that thought. You're still going to be like, no, Toni and Mariah deserve to main event. And I'm 100% with you. But it's realistically, there's only one real result here, and that's Toni winning to make this the Hollywood ending, to put a bow on this 18-month storyline. It's Toni winning, being victorious in Hollywood. All I want from that is to have it have the right placement and make it feel like it's one of the main events, one of the main highlights of the show. That's all I really want from it, because I do understand that with Mox and Cope, you have the possibility of a new champion with Cope winning in Los Angeles, and that's cool. If Mox wins, it's a number of different things that could happen. It could be Switchblade Jay White turning heel and betraying Cope and helping Moxley win. It could be Wheeler Yuta, who kind of had a little tizzy like a teenager, like, I'm going away, Dad. I'm walking away from you. And Moxley's like, you keep walking, and just cuts a rambling ass promo last night. Okay, annoyed the hell out of me. And yeah, Wheeler Yuta can come back in. He could be the reason once again why Moxley retains. I think that's very boring. But there could be a new member of the Death Riders. It could be someone like Jeremy said before. He said Jack Perry, which I think would be very disappointing and be a flat ending. But Alex Pulaski put out a better option, in my opinion, the newest member of the Death Riders being someone like a Josh Alexander making his debut in AEW. That's something that out of all the possibilities that I've heard, I like that one. I like that one out of the ones I've mentioned. But me and Alex, we work together because we're expert fantasy bookers. And the thing that I predicted on the Sports Illustrated preview was, I think, and it's been said a couple of times, that you have Cope beat Mox, and then Christian comes in and cashes in on him, and Christian walks out the AEW World Champion. But we put it all together with everything we saw last night, and we said Cope beats Mox, and then Switchblade turns on Cope, because Switchblade's like, I can't beat Mox because he had the Death Riders. Cope took out the Death Riders. Let Cope be the one that beat Mox, but I'm not sure I could beat Cope. So then he turns on Cope because Christian, he knows he could beat. So he lets Christian get the win, or he tries to steal the contract for himself. I think that is a better option, because there's different ways that you can go there when you accomplish a couple of things. You get Switchblade, who I think that they haven't really explored enough, his babyface character, but this is just so not Switchblade. The whole promo that he did last night about, I got Cope's back because he's got my back. He joined the fight against the Death Riders. And I was like, no, this is not the cool babyface Switchblade that we've been seeing. This is honky, very much, I'm putting on a front because I'm about to turn Switchblade kind of stuff. If you know Switchblade and you followed him since he became the Switchblade character back in 2018, you're just like, oh no, that's bait. That's bait right there. That's bait. I don't believe a word you're saying. So I think the way to do it is not have Switchblade turn on Cope and help Mox win, because that wouldn't make sense. It's to have Cope beat Mox and then Switchblade turns on Cope to allow Christian to win.
So I largely agree that Jay White's going to turn, and I do think it'll happen after the match so that we can just facilitate Cope versus Jay White, and that'll be the match. And it has nothing to do with Jay White being involved in the title match or the title picture. It's more just because he doesn't like Cope. He doesn't, whatever. The reasoning will be whatever he says. I think the most shocking thing that comes out of this is actually going to be this look coming back. I think
that looks like Matt Sydal.
I think you're going to see Yuta come in, haircut, fresh shave, and it's going to throw everybody off. And is that Wheeler Yuta? Is that Yuta? And that's going to be the big moment. Not the big moment, but that's going to be a moment. Because look at this sheepdog looking motherfucker. Like, look at him right now. People are clowning on him. I'm calling him Sam the dog from the cartoons, right? Where the sheepdog that protects against. Yeah, he does this when he needs to see, and he's got his hair covered his face. Has to hit the mic. That's what he's doing right now. I think if he gets a haircut, trims the beard, people will take him more seriously.
You couldn't even say that. You couldn't even say that with a straight face.
I don't think it's so much that people will take him seriously, but it's just a different. It's just a different look for him, because if they're going to maybe split Wheeler Yuta off from the Death Riders, that's the start of it, and it's a kind of a shock moment for, just for the aesthetic. That's all. But again, Jay White teasing that he'll be in Cope's corner, which is like, come on, we know what's going on. We know what's happening. We don't know if you're going to be directly involved in the finish, but we know what'll happen after everything goes down. Like it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
It feels like Mox might get by through this, but get past Cope by the skin of his teeth, given the way that, Moxley's got no friends. They're supposedly all out. Everyone's walked out or been carried out on a stretcher by Cope because of Cope. And then the promo, I didn't hate the promo, by the way, that Mox cut. He gave the line about, I was in a cage, but you rattled the cage, but the bars were for you, not for me. Whatever he said in that moment was kind of like, okay, he's a little unhinged, and he was using the Death Riders to keep him from lashing out further, especially Marina Shafir. Now, all bets are off. Everyone's gone. He'll do whatever it takes to win, and that could be what the story becomes on Sunday. I'm not saying that's what it is. It's just could be the way that they position Moxley, man with nothing to lose, because his entire team has gone down.
I would say for the past 2 to 3 months, these Moxley promos just sound like mid to late 2010s Bray Wyatt. It's just rambling. Yes. Sometimes it comes off very well and he delivers it very well because he is a great promo. But sometimes it's just and I think you're right that last night was a one that kind of had a clear point to it, but it just mashes all together with everything else. Like the great promo work we were getting at the beginning of this angle feels so in the past now because we've gotten a mishmash of rambling promos from him.
Well, this is something that Jeremy and I were talking about for a long time. Was the first couple of promos were great, and then the Shane McMahon stuff came up, right? Not that Shane was going to join and be a part of this thing, but once we heard about the Shane McMahon meeting with Tony Khan thing, and everyone was like, oh, Shane's going to come in and be part of the Death Riders because, Mox had made reference to a higher power or someone else. Then there was no higher power. Then there was no one else. And then it was rambling because I don't think that the story was going anywhere. And if they were planning on Darby sooner than planned, and then Darby was like, well, I'm going to go climb a giant mountain in April. So see you then, or March, or whatever it was. When Everest came calling for Darby, that was like, well, plans are on hold and you have to continue this story until that time. Now, I think what they did in the last few months when the reporting came out that Tony Khan was more quote unquote in the weeds, thank you for watching our show. When they came out that he was more involved with the creative, that's when the Mox and Death Rider story started to clean up a bit. And it became more of a wrestling paint by numbers style group and a paint by numbers style promo. And this whole Revolution build for Cope has been very pro wrestling. You have a faction. They've taken me out. I'm going to get them one by one. I'm going to clear them out of the way so that I have a direct line to the champion. So we have a match and nobody gets involved. That's a simple story. It's been effective. And as a result, people are more invested in this match. I'm one of those people because, again, you can talk in circles all you want, but if you talk in circles too long, people just leave. And that's what was happening with Mox.
Yeah, they've definitely turned this around. The last month has been good. I said last week that the segment that they had with Willow given the concerto is probably the best Death Rider segment since the ending of Wrestle Dream. But the stuff before and then last night, it was solid stuff. It's not anything offensive like it was in December and early January. They've really kind of turned it around since the beginning of February. Overall, like you said, since the report came out that Tony was more in the weeds. He had that one kind of shoddy episode at the end of January, but like I said, the month of February has been a strong month of Dynamite and Collision episodes. They had the Grand Slam, which was a success, no matter how much people want to measure rings instead of their own. Anyway, but yeah, and then last night was a good go home show. The stuff that I was kind of not feeling on the show really was because it wasn't go home stuff. In a vacuum, the opening 8-man tag was fun, but you had one guy on the main card for the pay-per-view out of 8. 1 out of 8 is on the main card. And yes, Brock Briscoe and Orange Cassidy are going to be on the pre-show, but no one on the team opposite them is there or facing them on the pre-show. So this has yes, and Ospreay is feuding with the Don Callis family, and the post-match was great. The post-match was great because Kyle Fletcher, oh my God, he got his next evolution. He's getting closer and closer to Randy Orton. He went from early 2000s Randy Orton. Now he's in mid to late 2000s Randy Orton shape. Oh my God. And everybody on the AEW roster feels like they got gym memberships because Brian Keefe's in the best shape of his career. You got Adam Cole looking like he had a ripped arm the last couple of weeks with the cutoff shirt. Matthew Jackson is at home in his home gym, but looking like a beast every time he shows up at New Japan, and he's going to come back soon. So bravo to the AEW roster for getting in some tremendous shape.
And shout out Cesar Bononi because he's working with a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Who is this? Do you know who that is?
That's the artist formerly known as Mark Davis.
I beg to differ. That is John Moxley circa 2019.
Wow, I'm done with you. More like John Moxley circa 2021. 2021. I would say 2021. That was what Moxley was looking like. And I love that. I know that Jimmy, when I do AE Rebel later, he'll have issues with how much time was devoted to the Mark Davis character. I just like the fact that Kyle Fletcher was like, nah, this doesn't work this way anymore. I'm not the young boy anymore. Now you follow what I say. He's like, hit him with the chair.
That's a story that I'm waiting to play out. Mark Davis needs something because come on, United Empire. They were a faction. They were dominant in New Japan. They came into there's more to it. Jeremy and I once upon a time had a spirited argument about the announcement of Aussie Open joining AEW and how the graphic went up and one of them was injured. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? They're not going to be on TV. Why would you give them the graphic? Why would you announce this? And anyway, in some ways I was right, but also in other ways, like, time has shown that the plan was for Kyle Fletcher, when given the opportunity, to boost his stock. And they've done that. I will absolutely give that. Now they do need to work on Mark Davis and figure out what or where he fits. And it sounds like they're trying to do something. We'll see where that lands. But again, I agree with you. The opening match was good. It was solid stuff. It was just one of those like, hey, we got a pay-per-view on Sunday, so let's put a bunch of guys in the ring that are, quote, all-star for this. And it's just not going to be on Collision.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was a very fun matchup. It took off a lot of the first half of the show. That and the Swerve and Ricochet contract signing was pretty much the first hour of the show. So I understand it filled up a lot of time. You could have added like a couple of more people that is actually on the pay-per-view in it. I love Brian Keefe. I love Mark Davis. I love the Murder Machines. But this is the go-home show. I want to see people that have some influence on what's going on the actual pay-per-view on this show. That's just me. Yeah. But it was a fun matchup. And like I said, I'm looking forward to Ospreay and Fletcher. I think that they are going to have a splendid matchup. I know our good friend Cam Hawkins did an interview with Ospreay, and he talked about kind of this being the first time he's doing a traditional American steel cage matchup. And he has this big reputation of being Mr. Pay-Per-View from what he did last year in 2024. And now he's trying to repeat that in 2025. And he's had a slow kind of first 2 months of the year, because last year he was trying to go everywhere before he came to AEW. So he had a 5-star matchup with Josh Alexander in TNA, had the 5-star matchup with Kazuchika Okada in New Japan, had that crazy dog pound steel cage match with the War Dogs, had the instant classic, the 6-star matchup with Michael Oku and Rev Pro. So he started off the first 2 months of the year amazingly before he even came to AEW, and now he's kind of easing into being a TV wrestler. He had that talk with MVP. He told him, like, you don't have to have these 5-star matches every time out. So you could see that with like the way he worked with Brian Keefe last week. He's like cutting things out. He's doing the Styles Clash into the Hidden Blade, or last night he did the Oscutter into the Hidden Blade. I don't need to do the Storm Driver on TV. I don't need to do the Stormbreaker on TV. I don't need to do the Sky Twister Plus every week. I can save it for the big match and the big show. And inside of a steel cage on this card, which is going to have multiple people go backstage and be like, follow that. Hangman Adam Page and MJF going to come back and be like, follow that. Swerve and Ricochet going to come back and be like, follow that. Ospreay and Fletcher, follow that. Omega and Takeshita, follow that. Toni and Mariah even going to be like, hey, fellas, you got all the cool moves. We got the story. Follow that. Like, I'm ready for Sunday.
And then Cope and Mox are just going to be like, all right.
I'm gonna be like, God damn! Now I know. Cope's gonna be like, now I know how Triple H and Orton felt after WrestleMania 25. I thought I had it bad doing with Cena and Show.
No, Cope's just going to take $100 bill and dab his eyes and just be like, okay, I'll do my best. That'll be that.
Very true.
Let's hit a couple of super chats. Leron Ford saying, Toni Mariah deserved to be the first women's pay-per-view main event in AEW. It's in LA. We're in Women's History Month. If this women's feud can't main event an AEW pay-per-view, then what women's feud can? Currently, none of them can. I mean, Billy and Athena did it for Ring of Honor for 2 final battles in a row. And feel how you will about the outcome this past year. That was their hottest women's feud outside of this one. Now it is where it is and doesn't matter. There is no other feud right now in AEW in the women's division that is as hot as this. You can get a Mercedes feud to that point, but that's going to take some time. They're clearly going to get to a Megan Bayne Mercedes matchup at some point. I don't think it's immediate, but there will be a time when those two are going to meet, because Mercedes loves working with with bigger women than she is. Not that she's big to begin with, but there's more to work with when that happens. Lots of chemistry with those opponents. The Chris Statlanders, the Willow Nightingales. They're again, almost everyone's bigger than Mercedes. But the point is, Megan Bayne is another one of those big powerhouse women that she could have a good fight with. That's on the docket. That being said, there are no feuds right now that could overtake this one to main event a show. They can get there. They can spend time building them. But everything Leron's saying is like, it's on the mark. It makes sense.
Yeah, it's basically what I was saying last night. Like, what other feud are you gonna get to this level? As far as like name value, I think a Mercedes Moné versus Timeless Toni Storm is probably like the biggest names that you could put in a women's pay-per-view main event, because Toni has become the GOAT of women's wrestling in AEW through her character work and her amazing title run from 2023 through 2024, and then the feud with Mariah May. She's really etched her name past the likes of Britt Baker, your Thunder Rosa, your Karashitas as the greatest AEW Women's World Champion of all time. And Mercedes Moné is being this belt collector in the women's division. So if you did Mercedes like, I got one last belt I need to collect, and it's the AEW Women's World Championship, I can see that main eventing something like an all-in, all-out later this year, something like that, as the first ever women's pay-per-view main event. I actually disagree with one thing you said. I think Megan Bayne is being built up for Timeless Toni Storm. And I wouldn't mind that Toni did all this, expended all this energy with Mariah May, and comes out of the Falls Count Anywhere matchup on Sunday, battered and bruised, and then you just have Megan Bayne be her next challenger, and Megan Bayne beats her for the title, and that's her next obstacle that she has to overcome.
Yeah, really, my point was that they will eventually get to that. I'm not saying it's tomorrow or anytime soon. It's just that is a matchup that quite a few people are looking forward to. I just don't think that it's immediately in the cards. Going for the world title for Megan Bayne, absolutely. But if she loses and Toni continues on as the world champion, if that's the next feud, for example, then I could see Megan going after Mercedes and they have a standout feud there. But I don't know where they're at right now. But Leron also kind of came with a good compromise right afterwards, saying if Toni and Mariah don't main event, can they at least be the co-main event? Even the TBS title got that main event billing at Double or Nothing last year. That's exactly the point you can make. Call it the co-main event. They did it for Double or Nothing, and they had the 3 main events in the slot machine bullshit. Just do it again this year. I think you'd appease a lot of people. But again, it's some people are purist. Main event is the last match that goes on. Some people are just the ones that get a top billing on the card, and it's A1, and B2, whatever you want to call it. I personally don't care as long as the story is solid, the match is solid, the chemistry is there, and everyone comes out making this more important than it was coming in. That's where I'm at. I don't necessarily mind where a match is placed as long as the story gets across.
I do mind, because I think that's the one thing that AEW doesn't always get right with their pay-per-views is match placement. I still am begrudging the fact that they had Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May follow the opening trios ladder match at All In. That should have at least opened the show. If you weren't going to headline or be that later on in the card, you don't have it second from the top. You have it as the opener of the show. I think that would have been a much stronger opener than the trios ladder match. And I understand they had to do it the first match because Christian and Killswitch would come out later in the show, but I don't think that's a good enough reason. I think that Toni and Mariah at least deserve to open. If you don't close, you should open. So I think that that's the second best spot outside of main eventing for them. So I think that the match placement is going to be important. I don't see this opening Sunday's card, but at least put it in like the middle of the show, like 4th, 5th match in, like smack dab in the middle of the show, or just before the main event. If you do want to present it as like the co-main event, it needs to be the second to the last match on the show. And billing it as the co-main event, it's a kind of has its pros and its cons, because when they did that last time at Double or Nothing, like you're mentioning, I saw a bunch of people basically complaining about that because they were third to last. They were like, oh, it's co-main event, but they're going on third to last. Like, they're not even the second to last matchup. So, but I think that presentation-wise, promotional-wise, if you notice, especially with the promotion, and you mentioned it in our group chat, how many times they mentioned, oh, we're on Prime, we're going to be on Prime, we're available on Prime TV video. But if you notice with that graphic that they put up when the matches were going on, it didn't just have Cope and Mox. It had Mariah and Toni. So it is kind of being presented as the second biggest match on the card as far as that promotional graphic that they put up. And as long as they push it as sort, and the commentary and the analysis talk about it like it is going to be one of the main matches, one of the highlights of the card, I think that is also good enough.
The triple main event was really what was stupid.
Yes,
Doing
I agree.
3 of them on one show was what was dumb. If you had just done 2, people would have been like, all right, that's fine, we get it. But 3 was just like, it's a bridge too far. What are we doing here? Keep it up with the super chats. We appreciate y'all. Chi-Town Spurs says, I need Renee Paquette to start fact checking our presidential debates. Far better than what we have currently. There's an old man from Vermont who's doing a very good job doing that. That was a lie. Go check him out if you haven't already. He still has a seat in the Senate. And also following up, if Cope wins, the entire Death Riders program was utterly pointless. That's kind of the situation that they found themselves in with the whole Darby story, is that they took out Darby. They are the reason that Darby needs to come back and basically win it back for AEW. Cope is not AEW. That's Darby Allin. And that's what you got. That's what the Death Rider story is, in service of someone who is very rah-rah AEW winning, and there's very few people who can be that right now. Swerve, Hangman, Darby Allin. Those are the 3 names right immediately that come to mind. A babyface MJF, but you ain't getting that, and you shouldn't. But those are the names that would do the Death Riders in properly.
Yeah, I think Darby, Swerve, Omega, Ospreay, those are the names that I would think of to end this Death Riders thing. And yeah, that's why I said like the option of Josh Alexander being revealed as like the member of the Death Riders to help Mox get the win, I think is much better than just Jay White turning on Cope and allowing Mox to win when you've been so hell bent against Mox and you helped Cope take out the Death Riders. It would not make sense if that was the fact. But bringing in someone like a Josh Alexander into the company who kind of would fit in with the look and the feel of the Death Riders, when you have someone like a Claudio Castagnoli, someone like a Pac in the group, someone like a John Moxley, he would fit in a lot better, even better than Wheeler Yuta. But I think that would be a cool way to kind of cap off the show without having to have like Christian. But yeah, if you're gonna have Moxley retain, they got to come up with a creative way, especially if that's the close of the show, because it is gonna feel like a downer. It's like, oh, Mox wins again, but it does make sense for Mox to win because the number 1 contender match is Swerve and Ricochet, and you can pretty much kind of see the writing on the wall that we are probably setting up for Swerve versus Mox at Dynasty 1 year from Swerve winning his first ever AEW World Title.
So sometimes you just need a little Twin magic.
Exactly. Look at that. Look at that.
Come on. Tell me that one man can't stand in place of the other.
See, you're on the same page. You're on the same page. Let's go.
I know exactly what we're doing here. I've been on it since last night. It's gonna happen. You're gonna get twin magic. It's gonna be John Moxley and Josh Moxley. They're just gonna rename Josh Alexander.
That would be so hilarious that if he did twin magic, like he pulls Mox, Cope hits him with the spear, Mox rolls out to the ring, and then we just see hands pulling Moxley under the ring, and then he rolls out with his head down, and he's got the same black pants and stuff. So Cope puts him into the ring. He goes to pin him, and the referee's like, 1, 2, wait. It's basically like Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle from the SmackDown before WrestleMania 19 when he was about to pin Eric Angle to become WWE champion. Oh my god, you made this booking better. See, this is why I love talking to Joe. Twin magic. We need twin magic.
It's the Moxley twins.
Josh Moxley and John Moxley. Oh my god. It sounds like twins.
If they don't do it, we've ruined wrestling forever.
We ruined wrestling. Someone clip this and send it to Tony. John and Josh Moxley.
I'm just gonna DM Josh Alexander right now and just be like, an idea for you. Take it or leave it. Maybe Sunday is a little too close, but maybe not.
Oh man, I'm totally pitching this to Jimmy so he can be so annoyed.
Just take the photos with you. Oh yeah, TK has a call today. Can we get an update on Josh Alexander, Josh Moxley? I mean,
say Josh Moxley. Josh Alexander.
You just got to get it subliminally implanted in his head.
Oh my god, that's great. That's great. My face hurts.
Instead of the Wolverine God family Cope. Yes, FTR. That's what it is. We're here because we're our best friend Adam Copeland. You can't hurt him. But we want the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Don't ask me where we are because we keep losing on Collision.
They're not even gonna be on the show, man. After they stole the show on Collision, not even gonna make the show.
No, maybe if they win a match, they can be back.
Well, they gave Garcia another TNT title defense against Lee Moriarty on Collision this Saturday.
Hooray!
I know. After they ruined that great match on Saturday with Adam Cole, how does Adam Cole just get skipped in the line? How did Adam Cole not get another title shot?
Many have said it, and I'll pile on to it. You can't tell me like Danny Garcia resigns and they've got big plans for him, and then he wins the TNT title and question mark. We're not doing it.
He spent more time trying to get other titles than actually defending his own.
That's true.
when he was the perfect person to do like open challenges and stuff like that. Like just do how you booked every other babyface TNT champion since Cody, Darby Allin, and Cope. They all were booked the same. So I don't understand why you're not booking Danny the same way.
It could be so much easier. I don't know what they're doing. Someone asking, Zeno Hour asking, how much money would it take for you to adopt the John Moxley look? Every time I go to my barber, I ask, how's it looking up on top? And they say, it's fine. They show me it's fine. I trust my barbers. If they ever get to a point where they're like, it's a little thin on top, then I will start contemplating the John Moxley look. Then I'll get there. I take pride in how my hair looks, damn it. Although clearly not right now because I have my feelings about how my barber scalped me last time. I fucked it. Anyway, me and Norma sent a super chat saying we got attempted vehicular homicide and murder and arson. Reminds me of the go home shows where, man, Tony Mariah should main event. Mox needs to lose. We talked a lot about Tony Mariah in the main event. Moxley and losing, I don't necessarily know. Don't think so personally, but let's talk about the attempted vehicular homicide and murder and arson. So first of all, to me, because we're talking about what goes on last, to me, the MJF Hangman match goes on first at Revolution because A, that's what Hangman does, and B, sorry, not Hangman. That's what MJF.
That's what Max does. Yeah,
that's what Max does.
And Hangman, he opened Wrestle Dream with that excellent match with Jay White.
Yeah, so you can get away with it. Both men are great for that. It sets the tone for a great night of wrestling. And also, listen, MJF wants to go to the local Denny's and get the Grand Slam Senior Special before bedtime. I get it. I would do the same. I will do the same. Who am I kidding? So there were some ebbs and flows with it, some good and bad. I don't love yelly MJF. It just kind of bugs me most of the time. I get that he's passionate and I get that he has a problem with Hangman, but it doesn't feel as pronounced as other motivations for MJF. I thought the fire thing was weak. We mentioned that earlier when Jeremy was here. I thought that they could have done better with it, but giving him a little lighter fuel, what you fill up your Zippo with and not getting anywhere. I thought that was they could have done better with that. Again, we've seen gas tanks brought out to the ring. Like we've seen people doused in gasoline in and out of the ring. Could have done that, but we didn't. We just teased it, and it makes me believe that there'll be a flaming table of some sorts in the match that they're doing. They'll do something like that. Fire will get involved, and that's that. MJF should have just set fire to the Rivian. That's it. You got an electric car with big bull horns. They've got lithium-ion batteries. Those shit that will like explode city, man. It would happen, but MJF doesn't know that because basic science is beneath him. So instead, this was a good promo. It was a good not promo. It was a good fight.
Yeah.
Here's my major one, my main concern. Well, it's not concern. I was asking myself, way too late, by the way, who is that man that MJF paid off? Because I saw the beatdown, right? Where Hangman is taking what we thought was MJF out to the ring or out to the crowd, and then he beats him up, and then the guy's just like, oh, it's not my fault, or he paid me, or whatever it was.
He made me do it. He made him wear a scarf.
Yeah, and it was like, well, first of all, who are you? Second of all, how much did he pay you? Like, third of all, what do you mean he made you do it? Did he point a gun to your head or a lighter fluid bottle at your head and say, "Oh, light you on fire"? Like, we needed something better than that. It just, and again, it came way too late because that decoy was way too unassuming in a way. So that part kind of just threw me off. But otherwise, like, listen, the match will be great. There's a story behind these two having a singles match on AEW pay-per-view. It was just, this week was like, again, good and bad simultaneously. Let me prove my point.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it only because we almost got him getting ran over by a car, which popped me, and Max running away, and then the fake MJF. I was convinced for a second. I was like, oh, he really grabbed him. At first I was like, oh no, that's not really MJF because we didn't see his face. And then when he's dragging him out, I was like, oh, okay, that is MJF. Okay. And then when we see it's not him, and then Max attacks him from behind. I like the beat down by Max. I like the intensity. I like him. I like the fact that of this rivalry overall is dictated by both men's past. It's dictated by the Hangman Adam Page Swerve Strickland rivalry, and all of Max's rivalries have been about one of his insecurities, and this one is about his jealousy and his need to be loved by the fans, which in a lot of ways that was kind of a kernel of the feud with Will Ospreay last year. He felt like the fans had chose Will Ospreay as the new top guy and chose him over him. That's what made him turn heel in the first place. So him using that kind of that jealousy streak that he has, and the fact that the fans have forgiven Hangman for all the terrible things that he did to Swerve Strickland, I think that that's a great character layer to add to Max, who's one of the best characters in AEW. And I think that this is just the start of what's going to be a long form feud between the two, because Hangman's big kind of character trait is that he can't let things go. And if someone beats him, he has to get revenge for that, and he has to get his win back. So I think that even though I think that Hangman desperately needs a pay-per-view victory, because this man has not won on pay-per-view since he beat Swerve Strickland and tried to murder him at All Out last year. He has not won on pay-per-view since then. I think that the right decision on Sunday is for Max to win, because that's only going to drive Hangman to go after him even further. And I like Max being like, hey, you like it so much when your Hangman, your cowboy sets things on fire. How do you like it when I do it? And just his crazed, entitled prick self saying, let me prove my point. Let me prove my point. It was like someone who annoys me in my replies, and I just block them. Like that's probably what they say. Let me prove my point as they're writing their comment back, and then they realize, oh, I've been blocked. Let me prove my point.
Someone had tweeted out, anyone got the fake MJF's Instagram? Y'all were quick to find the masseuse. By the way, no one replied to that tweet. That was very funny.
Come on, guys. You gotta find that tweet.
I'm just gonna leave it alone. Sorry, it's not a woman in a male-dominated industry, so you're probably not gonna find that person anytime soon. Once the AEW enhancement Twitter gets a handle on it, they'll figure it out. They'll tell you who it was. I don't know who it was. It had to be some sort of California indie star. Someone needs to get there. Someone figured it out.
A Sacramento native of some kind.
Sure, someone from out in the LA area, or from the California area of sorts. I don't know. Maybe Arizona, maybe Nevada, maybe Oregon, maybe Washington State. It's a big West Coast, that area. Anyway, not important. I'm looking forward to their match.
They've been having nice arenas too. I was very impressed with how this the Sacramento I don't know what the building was called, but it was a great aesthetic for the show.
Yeah, it was like their was it really it was a theater of some sorts.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a West Coast Hammerstein.
Yeah, the Sacramento Memorial Auditorium. That's what it was called. So it was nice. It was different. And again, AEW leaning into these different looking venues is good. My curiosity was like, where is the stage? Because they're it looked like it was a big staging area. So I guess maybe it's a stage that they load up and down as needed. And they just, I don't know. It was strange. Because when they're working in a place like the Andrew J. Brady Center in Cincinnati, that is a concert venue that has a stage. So the ring goes in the middle of the floor and the stage is the stage of the event. And then, you do the elevated walkway. This didn't have that. This was just all on the floor and very strange, but it looked good. I like that they're using these different looking venues. It gives you something more to look at too, because it's not just big cavernous arena size. This is a more intimate spot, and it didn't sell out, but it looked good on TV. Henry saying it looked like a courthouse. Matlock was about to come out.
I just realized that I accidentally I tagged Joel Hobert instead of Joel Pearl on the In the Weeds Live Now tweet that I put out. So let me tag in the comments. I just realized that when Joel was like, "Wait a minute." Joe Hobert was like, "Wait a minute, what the hell?"
Is Joe Hobert there? Is he coming? Does he want to?
I'm gonna be like, "Are you coming?"
You're late, brother.
Literally, he said, "Well, hold on, LOL." I'm gonna be like, "Well, are you coming?"
Well, where are you? We were waiting for you. Oh my gosh.
This is why you should always do the tweet before you go live instead of trying to do it while Jeremy is talking about WCW 1997.
That's right. Wasn't Joe also talking about WCW 97 at this point?
I think that's what made me like. It was like subconsciously we're talking about WCW 1997. I gotta tag Joe, bro. I gotta tag Joe Hobert.
Oh man, what a day. Swerve and Ricochet opened up the show. Let's touch on that real quick. This continues to be a really solid build. I really want to see this match, and I know we're going to get it at Revolution, and I know that this is for the number one contendership for the AEW World Championship. So you had mentioned the idea that Swerve wins and we go to Dynasty, and a year later Swerve is going after the world title again, where he won it at the pay-per-view last year. That's a possibility. We still have the Jimmy Rave jacket as part of this bigger story. The Prince Nana walking out on Swerve stuff from last week, which they didn't really play up on this week. That felt a little strange to me. It felt like they either thought that was something that could be left alone this week, or your headcanon has to assume that Swerve and Nana talked it out for a week, or whatever it was. Or maybe Nana was so enthused by Swerve's victory over Clark Connors and the way that he dominated him on Collision that was enough for now, and now he believes in Swerve. Whatever it was, I wish they had kind of fleshed that out a bit and been like, this is why Nana is still with Swerve this week. But regardless, I thought that the contract signing was good. I feel, because the jacket is not on TV this week and they're saying it's getting alterations, two mindsets. One, Ricochet comes out, the jacket has been made into his tights, because that's like the ultimate, like the jacket's on my balls now is one of those feelings. that's like the kind of one of my, okay, you would do that, you edgelord dick. That's one. And then of course, like, you would have cut it up so badly at that point. And the other thing is they cut it up to the point where it's a jacket for Samantha Irvin to come and wear for an appearance, and maybe do the managing / ring announcing of Ricochet for one night, maybe a tryout, maybe brings more. Those are the two immediate things that I kind of thought up with the jacket. But the segment was good. Scissors aplenty. The Acclaimed can no longer be the scissor guys, because it looks like Swerve and Ricochet are going to be.
Oh, he just commented in the chat. All right, I gotta send him the link. Send him the link.
You gotta do it.
Man. Got to. So let me do this. Copy. Put it. Let me message him over here.
You get it? It's disrespectful because it's on my balls.
I actually did not think of that, so I'm actually for that. I thought that he would like add like lights to it or something, or do something like extra ridiculous with it. But I did like that little tease that he gave, and just Ricochet, man. Ricochet might be like one of the great WWE to AEW success stories, because he's totally showed a different side of himself in record time. Like it's kind of ironic, because I felt like in record time he had even the AEW fans kind of turn on him, being like, oh, he's just a flippy guy. Oh, he's just going to have some great matches. Oh, he's just here for the Will Ospreay matchup, but he's totally turned it around. And Swerve really does that type of magic with anybody he faced. Like, we get all the talk about where Hangman was before Swerve interrupted his promo in September of 2023, and where Hangman is now, where he feels like, once again, he's the protagonist, the main character of all Elite Wrestling. So I think that Swerve has done it again with Ricochet, and really kind of revived him as this mainline heel that could be one of the top heels in AEW. And it's not out the realm of possibility that he can win on Sunday. I just think that the fact that he got yet another victory, another pinfall victory over Swerve on last night's show, I think that's going to be why Swerve is probably going to win on Sunday.
I wouldn't hate Ricochet winning, but I also would hate Ricochet versus Moxley.
That's the bigger issue, yes, isn't it?
And like, you can say, oh, Ricochet won, therefore Copeland has to win, but no, he doesn't. That's the other issue, is Moxley could win, Ricochet could win, and then we're just going to be like, well, literally any other match could be the main event of this show. But I don't know. Dynasty, they could be building up to a big dynasty just as much as they built up to a big revolution, and we could have multiple matches that can be main event caliber. Like, Okada could have a main event match. Like, he's got Brody King for this particular pay-per-view. That'll be a fun match. That'll be something that people will enjoy watching, because big meat going at it. It's going to be, thankfully, not Brody King spending weeks being like, I want G1 Okada. It's just, no, they had some passing issue with each other, and they're going to fight. Should it be for the title? Maybe not, because that is how they got here, but it's a fighting championship. It's a 20-minute time limit. You can go to the distance if you want to build Brody King on it. It might devalue Okada a little bit, unless he's playing coy, playing, what's the word? On the back foot for the whole match or something like that. There's a way to do it, but regardless, the idea of Ricochet winning, I was so high on Ricochet not only winning but also taking Nana with him, because I'm still of a belief that Nana's going to turn on Swerve. maybe it won't be now. Like maybe it won't be this pay-per-view. Maybe it will be later, because once Jay White started hinting at a potential swerve, I was like, oh shit, that's gonna change. Not everyone's gonna turn tonight or on the pay-per-view. But tell you who's not gonna turn on us. Joe Hobert. Hello.
My God.
How
History.
He's there!
I logged on to the famed Everything app that we all love so much, and I saw that I was working Fightful today. I said, oh, things are looking up in the world. I looked out the window. Sun was shining. I clicked, I scrolled the description. I said, usually I would be booked formally for these kind of things, but I'm open to changing that. And then I'm informed it was just sort of an error. So we had to we had to deliver, right? People, can you imagine how many people tuned in with the Joe Hobert, like, desperate? I have nothing to talk about. I just thought I should show I followed the right thing to do.
Well, you see what happened was Jeremy came on here and he was on drugs because he's sick right now. That's why Joel's here. I usually host the show with Jeremy and Joel's filling in, but he came in because he's on drugs because he's sick, and he started talking about WCW 1997. And at the same time, I was sharing the link of Live Now that we were on live for In the Weeds. But I think that my subconscious was like, I'm talking about WCW 1997. I must tag Joel Hobert instead of Joel Pearl. So this is how it happens. Magic.
It's something like that, yeah. I still get called Joel like 90% of the time. So it happens.
Feels wrong to me, because I get called Joe. People just drop the L.
Yeah.
So what is this? People are adding.
I don't know, man.
People want to add letters to your name, subtract them from mine. What are we doing?
White guys with glasses that are on Fightful sometimes.
The white-bearded man demo never fails.
When I was in Chicago, and Caden's already put it in the chat, when I was in Chicago, someone came up to me and said, Joel Hublo. I was like, yeah, man, that's me. Yeah, and then he hit me with, oh, you're the guy, you're on Fightful. I was like, yep, that's me. I was there 2 years ago, yep. I felt like a guy at WrestleCon, I had a run in New York once. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I don't know how long I'll be here or what I'll be talking about, but I'm going to be here just for a minute, just, for the sake of, it's a moment, right? This is a Fightful moment.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know how aware you are of this show. It's our morning show, not for you. You're several hours ahead, but
Yes.
Nothing matters.
It's happening for us.
Yeah, nothing's real. Nothing's real.
Good. I consider myself a little bit of an innovator of the Nothing Matters genre on Fightful, And it was that was my domain. I've been living off Nothing Matters content for years now. I actually have gotten so lazy in the last couple of years that now when I do like real wrestling talk, I kind of feel gross about it. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Doing takes and stuff, like it's the 70s. It's terrible. But I'm big on bits. Is there still a lot of bits around these parts? There should be. That's what this place was built on. Oh, yeah.
you missed the Twin Magic bit that we just had.
Oh my God, we just booked the perfect ending to to Revolution, because Moxley is probably going to retain. So Joel, he basically came up with Josh Alexander being Twin Magic with John Moxley, Josh and John Moxley, because they do look alike. If you want to show them the pictures, to show them the evidence, same person.
Yeah, you could book. If you wanted to do Twin Magic with Mox, you probably would go with Alex Jones, right, at this point? Probably.
Yes, you could, but I don't want to invite that. I don't want to invite that onto our anywhere. I just don't.
Yeah, fair. That's a good call. Probably wouldn't be the best play.
I think Josh Alexander would work a lot better than that. But
have you considered how Excalibur would call an Alex Jones cameo?
The problem is, then you got Taz being like Alex Jones over here, and then he couldn't follow up on that statement.
got Alex Jones over here.
It just doesn't hit the same.
Alex Jonesin over here. No, I just wanted to see Joe's beautiful face one day earlier, because we're gonna do the Revolution preview on True Hill Heat tomorrow, and it feels like forever. I think I asked him like 2 pay-per-views in a row, and he big timed me. It's like I'm busy with the family. I'm on vacation.
Oh, dude, that Christmas week. I was in hell, dude. I didn't even watch the pay-per-view, let alone preview it. But I will be there tomorrow. because I did owe you some towns. So yeah, I'll definitely be there, which is hilarious because I didn't even do the Late Night Grin preview for this show, but I just felt it was the right thing to do. So yeah, should be good though. Right? The Revolution looks good. So
That'll be a fun card. We're looking forward to that. But listen, you could be like Chi-Town Spurs saying hell's frozen over.
something like that. I did one of those. What's the show Steph does fight for the pay-per-view preview shows? You know, I did one of those.
Literally that pay-per-view TV show.
I did it, and I gave it like a big old push. You know, like hell froze over, and then I realized Steph had no clue what I was referencing at all, and thought I was going to like hijack the show. So like I did this big push, and I was like telling my audience we got to give it a big number so I can get back in the big time. You know, and I was talking to Steph and I realized she has no idea what I'm referencing. She probably thinks I'm about to like hijack the program and do some sort of rant about politics or something. So, that's why I've gone away from that now. I'm much more wholesome character now, guys. You know, I'm a changed man.
Couldn't even finish the sentence.
Exactly. Couldn't even finish it without putting out that.
You know, it is what it is. Sometimes you have to lie. I mean, I will say though, SP3 is like, I used to be impressed by how many shows he was on.
Thank you.
And now it's not even shows anymore. Now I'll see like a list and I'll go, oh, whose list is this? SP3. I'm half expecting, you know, to like just see him out and about randomly now. I see him everywhere. It's incredible, but you know, I'm proud of you, brother.
Thank you, brother. I actually we can give them a hook for the end of the show. Since last week, we and Jeremy, we broke down my list from last week that got everybody to bury me on social media, the 10 greatest women's wrestlers of all time. We just dropped my latest list, which is the 10 biggest heel turns in pro wrestling history. So me and Joel, if you want to be on for that we can go through that. I'm gonna put the link in the live chat so people can see it too. They can click on it. But
okay,
there you go.
All right, I mean that's topical, right? Big season for heel turns. Big season.
Absolutely. Okay. We had one of the biggest ever on and I see Tina in the chat. She's a big WWE fan, so we put it in there for her too. Some WWE. There's a lot of WWE ones on there. Spoiler alert.
Fair.
Yeah, especially the one that's going to be this coming Sunday. Jay White turning big moment. Where will that rank? That number 8? What are we doing here?
Let's see. Maybe 17.
17. Goddamn, top 20. Disrespecting Jay White.
What? I'm giving it top 20. Top 20 all time. Wrestling history. I had to go back to the 1980s, and then John Alba bullied me into putting number 10 on my list. So like, yeah. So
John, that was a good call by John, though. I'm looking at it now. John's a good pro, good worker, good drop kick on him. I like that.
Yeah, he does. He worked me. Like he was much better than Rick Ucchino, who really tried to push. Yes, I'm dragging you, Rick. So I hope you see this.
I'm sure he's gonna be watching this first thing in the morning.
Rick Ucchino.
Hobert's song. Let me get in there.
Exactly. Let me get in there. Rick Ucchino tried to argue for Becky Lynch's heel turn to make the top 10 biggest heel turn in pro wrestling history. I was like, Rick, that didn't even work. That's a non-heel turn. That made her more popular.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't mean to hijack your show, by the way, guys. I apologize. I'm like, I don't know what you were talking about either, so I feel even I can't even pretend to be like in on what you guys are talking about. I'm just showing up here and I'm like sitting here, so I apologize.
No, it's mostly Dynamite stuff anyway, and we were kind of getting to the end of Dynamite to then do I don't even know what. Because
look at my list, of course.
Yeah, your list doesn't.
The list. Yeah,
it's your list. That's fine.
Yeah,
what are we gonna do?
We're background for you.
We're gonna preview TNA wrestling.
No, I'm a big TNA wrestling guy now. I'm a big TNA wrestling. I don't watch it, but I'm a big fan. I've talked I think I'm gonna kind of work on that being part of my brand this year, like TNA wrestling guy. But I never watch the shows. I just kind of support from afar, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's work in progress.
I gotta watch the show and talk about it every Thursday night. So
Tough.
Who is your favorite TNA wrestler, Joe?
Probably Eddie Colon, probably, or
Orlando. Orlando.
Orlando.
Everybody knows he's better.
Yeah, good call. I mean, I've done a couple watch-alongs, and it's difficult for me. I have to be honest. I think it's actually an understated talking point that it's got worse to me since D'Amore was gone. But I guess some people talk about it. I'm not in those circles. But yeah, and the Tessa stuff, and
I can tell you right now, it's not the reason for creative not being great. It's not because of Scott. There are other factors at play, but
Tom Dreamer.
Not necessarily, but we won't get into it right now. There are other factors at play.
We're in the weeds though, Joel. Come on.
No, but sometimes the weeds need less talk.
Tony Khan's been in the weeds lately. Did you hear about that?
Oh, did we ever?
Yeah.
He has a standing invite to host a segment on this show, and we'll call it In Tony's Weeds, but he hasn't taken us up on it yet. Yeah. The whole idea is that if he used to do Busted Open, but of course Busted Open decided that they didn't need AEW content anymore except for the wrestler. So instead, we will take him in. We will take Tony in and have him on our show instead to talk about every week. It's fine.
It's a good idea. It's a big thing nowadays. I'm a little bit out of the loop, but I do notice that at least once a week we get a story that basically can be paraphrased as the booker has started booking. It's like a thing we get across. It's an industry-wide revolution we're currently experiencing, which is good.
Gato started the trend. Gato started booking in January 4th and 5th, and then everybody else was just following suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my friend, the Disgraced podcaster, was like, Triple H is booked tonight, SmackDown. I was like, did he quit his part-time job at the local diner or something? Isn't that what half of his job? I thought he was the head booker. What did he used to do? Like take the weekends off or something?
Well, the problem was he didn't want to be on TV, so he sat at home on Fridays and said, "Don't put me on TV. Leave me at home. I'll call it in. Don't worry about it. Hey, Brian, you've got this, right? Okay, all right. See you on Monday." And that's how it worked. But now he had to come to work and be on TV again.
It's tough, man. I mean, when you're the head booker, having to do the booking, it's tough. I think we don't spend enough time thinking about the bookers having to do all the booking. It's difficult. The weeds and such. And he has Raw and SmackDown. How does he manage?
Yeah, don't forget about that Evolve in NXT. He's got to get his fingers in on that.
Did anyone watch Evolve?
I did. I did actually.
How was Evolve? How was it?
I like the concept of it. It's very much if the best comparison I can give it is mid 2010s NXT. It's a lot of video vignettes of the superstars kind of introducing you to them, where they cut like a 1-minute promo and then they have a match that doesn't last very long. They squashed the dude from the Miami Dolphins, which was hilarious. I was like, he's the most noteworthy person on this show, and you squashed him.
Trill London got squashed?
He got squashed. They're like saying, "Oh, Trill London's this great high flyer." They did the whole vignette for him, and then Keanu Carver squashes him in like 2 minutes. It's the shortest match on the show.
My God.
I was like, never change, Shawn. Never change. This is true. That was pure Shawn Michaels booking. He's like, we're gonna humble this guy. He's from the Miami Dolphins. Let's humble him.
Just stomping all over Gabe's booking like that. Can't believe it.
Great stuff. That popped me. Yeah, swipe right might be my favorite new thing, because the fans they have a tag team that's two pretty boys, which you couldn't tell them apart from like the likes of Cole Carter and Griff Garrison, where their tag team name is Swipe Right, and they did a whole promo where they'd be like, your mothers, your girlfriends, your wives all swipe right on us, so that's why we're Swipe Right. We're part of the Swipe Right lifestyle. And then the fans started chanting swipe left, which was great.
Oh my God. This sounds like revolutionary stuff. I've just realized that the audience can see something on the screen, because I cannot see anything on the screen.
Yeah, it came up suddenly. I had to refresh a page to see it.
I've been sitting here for 5 minutes. Like, is this just what we have on the screen in the weeds? Do we just have this? Is this our visual? But the audience can see fine, but we just see the backdrop.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it.
Okay, you can see it.
I can see it now. It took a few minutes, but it's up there now for me at least.
I can't.
Mainly because of
I
hearing
just
it,
see
man.
the weeds. I'm in the weeds.
Try switching to another tab and then switch back.
So yeah, we got
Give me a sec.
the John Cena and the 10 biggest heel turns in pro wrestling history. My latest list for Sports Illustrated dropped just a couple of minutes ago, actually. So number 10, we have the Von Erichs versus the Fabulous Freebirds. Rivalry is Born from WCCW Christmas in the Cage 1982. Yes, this is the section of the list that John Alba bullied me into putting a part of this list, which I appreciate him for. I did ask for the feedback. Then you got Andre the Giant turns on Hulk Hogan and aligns with Bobby Brain Heenan, basically the setup for WrestleMania 3. Then we got number 8 here. We got the I think it is, Mega Powers. No, it's not that. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin makes a deal with the devil, Mr. McMahon from WrestleMania 17. It was originally Mega Powers in this spot, but it was originally Mega Powers in this spot. But then I realized, I was like, Austin turning heel did not result in big business, so it should probably be lower on my list. So I did make it lower. Then you got number 7, The Rock aligns with Mr. McMahon and the Corporation from WWF Survivor Series 1998 Deadly Games tournament. Then we got number 6, Shawn Michaels throws Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window. Then we got number 5, the aforementioned Mega Powers explode as Macho Man sees lust in Hulk Hogan's eyes. My editor was very confused. My editor is not a big wrestling fan, so he was like, "Is this actually what was said?" And I was like, "Yes, it was." So he allowed me to put that in the title for that. Number 4 was Seth Rollins turns on the Shield and joins the Authority. Then we got number 3, Mr. McMahon screws Bret Hart in the Montreal Screwjob, the birth of the Mr. McMahon character. Then we got number 2. This is where it gets controversial for some people, because some people are prisoners of the moment. Number 2 is John Cena turns on Cody Rhodes to align with The Rock. And then finally, number 1, of course, what it should be, these freaking recency bias merchants. Number 1 is Hulk Hogan joins the NWO, WCW, 1996.
It's going to be really funny when John Cena wins his 17th world title, and then he retires, and then he joins the WWE board of directors, and then he takes over Triple H's job, and then he starts a whole new company, and he revolutionizes the wrestling world, and then you're going to have to relook at this entire list and be like, nah, shit, it is number 1.
Or alternatively, he loses at WrestleMania and turns back babyface immediately afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel the one thing I would say, it's actually a really tough list to do, because it's like, what are you... Because Shawn's heel turn launches his entire singles career. So it's like comparing that to something that's an angle is difficult. My gut feeling is Andre should be higher, I think. Because like that's such a monster. Yeah. Now the Freebirds Von Erichs I would also have higher, but I get that's we're going back a long time and not everyone's as well versed on that. So but yeah, it's a hard thing to do. I don't know. I couldn't do the list thing, man. I've proven that many times over. I wouldn't be able to do it.
The only pushback that I have about the Von Erichs in that turn, it didn't say world class, because at that point, world class is already.
But the Freebirds Von Erichs feud is launched by that angle, you know.
Yes, it's more just what did it do for world class. I get that at the time
it kept them afloat. It kept them afloat for like 4 more years.
Oh yeah, there's a couple years after that, where it does. That's the centerpiece of the promotion. If it does big business, it's just obviously, people died and things of that nature. But nonetheless, enough about death. All right, speaking of dying, I'm going to get off this show now. I have something to record. Unfortunately, I cannot stay much longer. I appreciate you guys having me. Stop by here.
Appreciate you dropping by. Always good to see you again.
We should do this again sometime. We can do 2 hours about heel turns and things of that nature. We could put together a list, maybe something like that. Hopefully next time I'll be able to see what's on the screen. It's quite an adventure, but I assume the production budget's been slashed or something. I was just looking at the weeds for the whole time, but nonetheless, Thank you, Joel. Thank you, SP3, and I'll speak to you both soon. All right, lads.
Cheers, Joe. Appreciate you.
Thank
All right. Have a good day, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Goodbye.
Later, sir.
Hilarious. Good to see
That was
Joe
great.
Hobert. Always fun to have him on. A mistake made right, SB3.
Absolutely. See, sometimes mistakes bring the best content.
That's right. Just look at this list. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. No, but you really believe Andre should be higher?
Yeah, I do. And it's the problem is looking at the rest of this list, I can't argue many of the other options. Like that's kind of
Yeah, I think the top 3 is the top 3. I think those are the 3 most important heel turns, the 3 biggest heel turns in wrestling history. Like you got the Montreal Screwjob, which is like real life basically mixing over onto the screen. Like I had to write so much about that because I try to write these lists for a person who's not watched wrestling in a while or needs like the refresher course for everything. And that was like the largest portion, whereas I had to make basically number 2 and number 1 as big as those as number 3 because that needed the most information, because you have to know about, you know, Vince offering Brett the 20-year contract and then taking it back, and then him signing with WCW, then him and Sean's relationship and the backstage arguments, and then all of that culminating with the whole orchestrating of the plan that was the Montreal Screwjob, and then in turn that making Mr. McMahon into the biggest heel in wrestling history, both on screen and in real life. But and then with number 2, it was like with John Cena, that was kind of the hardest one to kind of place, because I could have put Mr. McMahon above John Cena, but it's 20 years plus of Cena being a babyface and it being that white whale of pro wrestling that I had to put it at number 2. But I feel like there's too many people that are in recency bias, because I've seen so many videos and tweets about, oh, that's the greatest heel turn of all time. I'm like, guys, we have to see what happens. We have to wait. Like for now, it could be in the top 3. That's a huge honor within itself. That says how big the moment was, but we don't know the follow-up. We don't know the impact that it's going to have, and is it going to match the impact of Hulk Hogan joining the NWO and launching WCW to the number 1 promotion in the business after WWF had it for so many years. Like that's going to be tough for Cena. Cena has to win at WrestleMania, and then we have to see what happens after that for everything to kind of it place above Hogan joining the NWO.
Maybe I would swap Mega Powers and Andre. Maybe. Because the business, what took off after Andre and Hogan, like what happened to the business after that, I would say was bigger than the Mega Powers. So the two kind of play into each other in their own way from business standpoint. But yeah, no, I could put that one higher, maybe up to 5 for Andre, and then move the Mega Powers down to 9. That's where I would do.
That's fair. That's actually a fair argument, and that's why I like doing lists like this, because people can make a good argument that I'm like, you know what? You actually make a lot of sense there, because that the reason why it's on the list is because what it resulted in the 93,000 quote unquote being at the Silver Dome and it launching WWF into like a different stratosphere. Like that is big time. That you can definitely make an argument that it's a top 5 heel turn.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, a little bit of breaking news, by the way. The WCW Vault has launched on YouTube. And one of the first things you can watch, WCW Greed 2001, featuring my favorite match, Jason Jett versus Kiwi, was the opening contest. You got 10 minutes to spare. I'm not kidding. It was actually a really good match. That's a match that I think people should go and watch. It's on the WCW Vault on YouTube for free. Go get it now. Watch that and watch the whole show. I don't care if you do or don't, but listen, it was one of the longest matches on the card. The main event goes 14 minutes. Jason Jett and Kiwi go 12 minutes. And then Elix Skipper and Kid Romeo versus the Filthy Animals, that goes 13 minutes. The only thing above that is the Cruiserweight Championship, Shane Helms and Chavo Guerrero. So go watch that show. I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. Jason Jett and Kiwi is a legit great match. Please go watch it. I don't get paid to tell you that.
He's like, I don't even get paid to tell you that. It's a great freaking match.
It's a great match. People are always like, what's your like unknown favorite match? And I'm like, well, that's the one. And I stand by it every single time. Oh my goodness. People are talking about Cena's short heel run. It could be. Well, we'll see where it plays out. That's why a lot of these lists exist, because of this moment. And yes, a lot of it is, will it play out that way? I think the moment was huge. What history does to it is completely different. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think that the reason why I think it is a top 3 one. I know there's people in the chat that's like, oh, we don't know what it's going to result in. What it's resulted in the past week is this is the biggest pop culture moment WWE has created in years. Like, it has transformed into something that I had to message my mom and send her the link. And my mom this morning, when she's talking to my kids, is like, "Oh, son, did you know that on Fox News they talked about the John Cena heel turn?" And then she was like, "Oh yeah," and then I saw Jon Stewart on the Daily Show. He talked about it with Trump in the Oval Office. Like, it's become this thing that is going to bring people back to WWE, or at least be like, let me peek in a bit. It is that big because John Cena had been a babyface for 23 years. Like, I think even in the moment, I remember being 8 years old when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO. In the moment, we all thought that was the greatest heel turn of all time. So no, it's not because, it's been all these years after that I could say, oh, Hogan joining the NWO is the greatest heel turn of all time. I remember being 8 years old and thinking that's the greatest. I was heartbroken. I was heartbroken in the moment. That was like the biggest betrayal that wrestling fans had ever felt in the moment. And now what? Almost 30 years later, it's still the number 1 greatest heel turn of all time.
But where would you rank Nikki turning on Brie? I wish you died in the womb. That was the line of the entire turn, though. Like, let's face it. It gave us that. So what else matters? We got a few minutes to finish. So that's clearly your number 11, right?
Of course, guys. No, actually, number 11, what John Alba bullied me to bump down with the Freebirds and Devon Eric's origin was Kevin Steen turning on El Generico, or Kevin Owens turning on Sami Zayn. I couldn't even separate the two. I had to put them both together. I had that as my number 10 because I'm a Ring of Honor mark. So.
That makes sense. Well, not anymore because you don't do the post shows, but that's just me. Now
I'm still a Ring of Honor mark. I don't know what this show that airs on Thursdays is anymore.
It's a Ring of something. It's ROS. Anyway, let me get you TNA's tonight. There's a show. I'll be doing the post show with Crested Star over on Fightful. So go and subscribe to that channel. Leave a thumbs up on that video when it goes up. Leave a thumbs up on this video if you haven't already. What's wrong with you? There's a lot going on. Masha Slamovich is going to speak. They're doing the First Class Penthouse that's back with AJ Francis, Casey Navarro. That's going to result in a fun match. Elijah takes on Brian Myers. Ace Austin teams up with the Rascals to take on the Northern Armory. Mike Santana and John Schuyler, because of course you got to do that match. Zaya Brookside and Savannah Evans go at it for what feels like the 50th time, even though it's not. The Hardys take on the Colognes in a match that I'm pretty sure I've seen in multiple promotions. And then Oba Femi and Moose go face to face. And that's going to be TNA tonight. Have fun with that. I know I will.
Sounds good. I'm liking that Oba Femi's been on TNA the last couple of weeks. That 8-man tag that they did last week. That spot where Moose does the pump kick and Oba Femi literally on his tippy toes does like a limbo and then comes back like ah. I was like, oh, let's go. That's probably the most hyped I've seen a TNA crowd in years. That wasn't just them screaming you're a racist and we're coming for you. Like, that's the hottest that I've seen a TNA crowd
in fairness, they were at Full Sail. They was mostly people who go to the weekly NXT show, so like nothing was different. It was just, well, the only thing that was different was the set and some of the wrestlers, but like NXT wrestlers they all knew. But anyway, plug stuff, get out of here. I gotta get ready for my thing.
Let's do it. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at True Heel SP3. I will be posting right after we're done here. I'll be posting the 10 biggest heel turns in pro wrestling history. Go over and check that out on si.com. Go and read about it and understand why each of these people were at their certain spot on the list. And yes, I will be live in 1 hour with Jimmy Macaram on AE Ramble, where we will go in depth about AEW Dynamite and break it all down, and we'll get Jimmy's predictions for AEW Revolution. So join us live for that. And thank you, Joel, for joining me today. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you to everyone who came and joined us today on screen, off screen, donating super chats, getting involved. We're back tomorrow. Wes Barkley will be with us. He is the international wrestling superstar who is also a doctor and a security guard. Just watch WWE from the last 2 weeks. You'll see him there. For SP3, I am at Joel Pearl, JOELPERL. Jeremy Lambert will hopefully be back tomorrow. If not, then you'll just see these two shining faces again. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.